Okay, let us start. Yeah. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. Today we are going to talk about the option of a contract. Earlier we talked about the classification of a contract. Before that we talked about the conditions and purpose and effect and pillars of a contract. So it all comes under the same the chapter. It is called Theory of Contract. And today what we're gonna see is actually something about, uh, you are ready to do some transaction, and and everything is there. All three pillars are there. The purpose is there, the effect is there, the condition is completed, everything is there. Then do you have an option to accept your transaction after some time? Let's say you are given some time, or you are actually seeking, requiring some time to decide. So this is what we call option, which means in Arabic it is called khiyar. This khiyar as a this is an advantage of uh, a buyer, for buyer, because the buyer not necessarily has to buy something that he doesn't know. Sometimes you bought it and then you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have bought it because it's I thought it's this. I thought this is very good. I thought it will be useful for me, but it turns out that I'm not going to be using it forever. It seems like it's not my product. It seems like it's not my type. It's like it's not the type that I wanted. Um, so sometime it happens, and most of the time, what we do, we actually just keeping it, or we try to sell it to somebody when we think that we don't know. Then we have some other options. Sorry, we have some other platforms where actually we are looking for someone, or we make it into used items selling, and again we actually going to lose, because once you don't like it, whether it is new or not, the moment you bought it and you wanted to sell it to somebody, after some time it becomes a used item. Anyway, so this is all usually happens. So the Sharia is actually giving you an advantage of, and it is called khiyar. You can actually practice it um, if you feel like you are not the expert, or you are not very sure about what you bought, so you want to keep it for some time, or maybe you want to return back. So this is where originally the the use of option comes. But later, over the time, over the development of the transaction, so we have new methods, we have a new way of transaction. So what they say, you can buy from the supermarket, and if you have any issues, you can actually return in 1 week time. You can say, for example, the size is not good, maybe it's too heavy for you, maybe it's not fulfilling the purpose, for whatsoever reason. The return policy is there most of the cases, not necessarily all of them. In fact, some of them, they will say that there is no return policy, there is no refund. You need to know here, sometimes they say you can return, but you have to buy something else. It's not like you return and I pay you the money, unless there is a issue in that particular product. Let's say there is a defect, there is a technical issues with that product. Let's say you bought a microwave, and then you wanted to check it, and then you checked there, it was working, but bringing back to your home after 2 3 days is gone. Or maybe there is a technical issue with that microwave, then you cannot use it. So you say that I cannot use it because it's not up to the expected, up to the quality that I expect, so I want to return. And then when you return, definitely if they have the new one, yes, they can give it to you, they can replace you. But if they don't have the new one, and they have the different one, maybe little bit higher, it's all up to you. But again, if they don't have the exact one, they have to return your money. Um, so now, when we talk about the option, right now, the topic of the day, khiyar, think about all the possibilities that you have. Think about, a trial, for example. When you are going to buy or purchase an application app, even before that, they say, okay, there is a trial for 7 days, there's a trial for 30 days, right? So once the trial period is over, then the real payment that you need to make. Or it could be other things, like we practice today, whatsoever is called return and refund policy. All right. Or it is called if there is any defect, you can come up with the same receipt, so that we can return back to you. So all these things will come together. All right, all these things will come together. Actually, you can see whatever that in the recent development that we have right now. Let us give you what Sharia talks about these kind of contract. So we have several options, types of options. The first one called session. Okay, this is the definition of option. Option is the right given to one or both parties to either confirm or cancel a contract. The contract is not binding until the option is exercised to confirm it. Let's say there is an option called condition. You say that, okay, I want to keep it for 3 days.
Dahito
If
dyan
I'm
nimo,
happy,
kaya 60.
if I'm happy,
Tiga pa bulang.
then I will be using it. If I'm not happy, I have to return back. Then there is a kind of conditions that we can make. Usually, you cannot make it nowadays. These kind of conditions to small items that you are buying, unless you are buying a big stuff. For example, you say that, okay, there is a car, I want to buy it, which cost you hundreds and thousands of ringgit. Then you say, okay, I want to go for trial for 1 day or 2 day. You keep it, and then if you like it, then because you have to keep it for so long. And you want to buy a house, you can ask, can I just live for 1 day and see how this house is all about, right? So these are the things actually possible. That's because of the price that you are paying. This is what we call, that the contract will not be binding until the option is exercised. So once you exercise the option, and then within that stipulated time, the given time, let's say 3 days, let's say 1 week, whatever the time that you agreed, if you return, if you cancel, then it will be cancelled. If you didn't cancel and you keeping it until that time period pass, let's say you say within 3 days, I will tell you, I'm buying it, I'm buying your car, but if there is any problem within 3 days, I will return. So you have all the right to do it, to return it within the 3 days time. But when the fourth day comes, then it seems like your contract has become binding, binded, which means that your contract has your contract has completed, which means that you already bought it. So option allow the parties a time to think over the terms and conditions of the contract and to make a choice that is the result of careful thinking and deliberation. There are some following important options that contracting parties are entitled to by law, or they can stipulate in their contract. So let's see one by one. The first one is called option of session. This is something every one of us we do. I mean, every single day, this is what we do, because we go to the market, we go to the shop, and then we talk to the seller. We want to buy something, and then and at the meantime we are thinking whether we say yes or no, whether we think whether we want to buy it or not. So we didn't confirm to the seller while we are looking at the product. Let's say you go to the phone shop and then you're looking in phone and then you really want to buy it, but you didn't tell that yet you want to buy it. You are just looking, inspecting, looking into it. This is what we call the session. So most of the cases, it looks like normal things to do. That's the reason why some of the imams, ulama, they didn't recognize it as a option, because this is something regular. So this is something usually everybody do. But according to Imam Shafi'i and Hanbali, this is also recognized option, which means the session still continues and they are not yet separated. This means that the contract is binding only after the session ends, and neither of the parties rejects the contract during the session. So this is means that that particular time, right? In that particular until the buyer and seller in one place, they can actually have the option have they have the option to whether to cancel it or to reject it or to accept it. So this is what we call session, but most of the cases it's quite normal things to happen. The second one is called the option of condition. So the option of condition is actually, okay, I want to buy it. I really like this product, but I cannot decide right now. I need some time. All right. Let's say you have a second-hand car. I really like to buy your car. I really like to buy your motorbike, but I'm not the expert. I need a mechanic to come and then check. So let me take your car for one day. All right, let me take your car for one day. In this one day I will try your car, I will drive out, test drive. At the same time I will go to the mechanic and I will check how is the condition. If the condition is like what you said, because you told me just now that is the condition is very good, if the mechanic say the same thing, then I will buy the car. So this is what we call condition. All right. Also, the condition could be, for example, I'm buying this brand new mobile phone, but I'm not very sure about what is inside and how it works. And then if the seller says, no, you can take it. If there is any, you can take it and you start using it. If you have any problem with it, you come back and you return it. So this is also kind of conditions. So these conditions, it's that's because of consulting. It will help you to consult or to reflect or to think. You also may have an expert to get some advice, right? So this is what we have. The example is called established by a hadith. This option established by a hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The reason for this option could be that some people may want to get the advice of an expert. Thus, they may put this condition or may seek a longer period. Consulting others or thinking or reflecting over the thing may need more time. All right. So I think this is very clear, right? The option of condition. Okay. The option of condition gives the other parties the right to either confirm or cancel the contract within a certain period. If the period expires and the contract is not cancelled, the parties lose the option and the contract is confirmed and binding. So, as I told you, if this person took your car and then you wanted to inspect, and then he said, okay, within one day or 3 days, I will get back to you if there is any problem. And then if he didn't get back to you within 3 days, which means that he's happy to do it, and then he's actually using it, which means that it looks like the contract has been concluded. uh, the contract has been completed. So which means that the contract become binding. All right. Now there is an issue. It's a little small issue could happen, sometimes. That's what they are talking about now, the next one. They say that while you are keeping that car, while someone keeping that product, and then the person has passed away while keeping that product, some abnormal circumstances, okay, may happen, may not happen, but might happen sometimes. Most of the time it won't happen. So let's say if that person who took the car, who took any product under the condition of contract, let's say he passed away. So now, according to Hanafi and Maliki, the ownership is not transferred to the buyer. All right, that's because he's still exercising the option. So that which means that during that period of time of exercising the contract, exercising the option, the contract can become accepted, or also the contract can become cancelled. For that reason, according to Hanafi and Maliki, they say the ownership is not transferred to the buyer. It has to return back to the seller, and then later the people who inherited, the people who follow the inheritance of that person who passed away, they can go and buy the product again if they want to. But according to the Shafi'i and Hanbali, the ownership is transferred to the buyer because he already started doing the transaction. So it seems like even though he passed away, maybe it is he passed away, but while he passed away, the property, the product was in his hand. So for that reason, the Shafi and Hanbali says it can be transferred to the buyer. In case of death, the right option is not inherited according to the Hanafis. However, according to Malik and Shafi'i and Hanbali, the right could be inherited. Okay. Number three, this one is actually most of the time, because the first one everybody do, but we don't call it option of session. Every one of us do. We always go to the shop, and then we always go to the market, and we always think about it before we buy. The second one condition is actually happens, but not all the time, because it's only happens if you are buying a product like a big car, or maybe the house, the big stuff only. For the small stuff, you don't make like conditions like 3 days or that. Only the product, like the big, the most expensive products, for example. So these are the things need some conditions. This one, number three, this is called the option of defect. This number three is actually every one of us, especially today, the modern transaction, the modern development in transaction, that the way that we do the transaction today, this is what number three we are exercising, every one of us, because this is called the option of defect. All right. So the option of defect gives the buyer the right to cancel the contract if he discovers upon transfer of possession of the thing a defect that would reduce or diminish the value of the thing. So this is what happened. Let's say you go to a market and you want to buy, you want to buy, let's say you want to buy a pen drive. A very simple thing. Usually people buy the pen drive, because when you buy a pen drive, you don't open it and then you check in that shop, because it comes with a cover. So you take the pen drive or the thumb drive, and then you come back home, and then you use that pen drive with your computer. Or let's say you want to buy a speaker, or you want to buy a microphone, or you want to buy a SIM card reader, I mean memory card reader, right? Whatsoever that comes to technical part, mostly the technical items that you buy, usually you don't do the inspection on the counter. There are few things that you do. For example, you want to you want to buy you want to buy a washing machine, or you want to buy a microwave, or you want to buy refrigerator. You always especially the fan, for example. So what they do, they will come, they will show you it works. They will open it because we want to see whether the extension, the power extension, whether it works or not. We always want to make sure that before we carry, because it's heavy to carry. So before we carry it, or the buyer, before the buyer deliver to your home, we wanted to check that whether it has any problem or not. Other than that, the things that we buy, the small things, most of the time the thing that we buy, sometimes we check, sometimes we don't check, most of the time, so we bring it back. And then we always there is an option that we always practicing, which is actually called option of defect. So now you just need to keep the receipt. That's why make sure that every time you buy anything, you buy with receipt. Yeah. And when you come back home and then you find out that it has a defect, then you can go back and you can return. All right, because it has a defect. Either you want to return and take the money, or you want to return and wait for until the buyer brings you the same thing but the good one. But the second time you will be make sure that you check in the counter and then you come. So now what are the conditions? You can actually practice this defect, but now you need to know what are the conditions that you can practice with this option of defect. The first condition is the defect must be there, presented even before you buy the product or during that time of the conclusion. The defect should not happen while you brought home. Let's say you bought a phone, and then on the way back to your home, you drop it, or you drop it in the road, or maybe you drop it in the water. you know so that kind of defect is actually didn't happen during or before you buy the product. It happened after you buy the product. So so the condition is that it should be there before you buy the product. And then the defect was not disclosed during the session of the contract. You see, sometimes you may buy the second hand phone, all right, or second hand, whatever it is. The seller will tell you, okay, this price, this phone is this price. This phone, let's say 100 ringgit or 200 ringgit. The reason I'm selling you for cheap is because of the defect. This defect, maybe there is a scratch in the screen. Maybe there is a dot in the screen. Maybe there is a issue with the battery of the phone. So now, if the defect was not uh, disclosed during the session, it was not open. The defect was not clear. It was not discussed during the session, during the buying and selling, but you only found out after you bought it home. Then you can actually practice the option of defect. All right, you cannot practice if he already told you there is a problem, or it's quite obvious. He already mentioned the problem of the phone or the problem of the product. Then you cannot practice it. Number three, the defect should be a type of that would decrease the value of the object. Sometimes this is also important. Even we are always complying. Sometimes we complain that the box of the product is not good. The product is good, but when it was delivered, the box was not so good. Then we complain that the box was not so. Okay, by the way, we are not going to keep the box. We are not going to keep the wrapping bag or something. We are actually going to keep the product. So that's why the number condition number three is the defect should be a type of that would decrease the value of the object. If let's say if there is a big scratch, or maybe let's say if there is a problem with the light, if there is a problem that the main issue with the product which actually decrease the value, then only you call it defect. Other than that, you don't call it defect. All schools of fiqh agree that the option of defect could be inherited as this right goes with property. Okay, this one everybody agree, because once you bought it, it's yours. So if someone pass away, then the children can be inherited to that product.
Sir,
Yeah.
is there any defect that wouldn't decrease the value of the object?
For example,
Yeah, for example, is there any defect that wouldn't decrease the value of the object?
yeah, like I told you just now, the defect of the box, or maybe the defect in the defect in additional accessories to the product. Let's say you bought you bought a earphone, and then there is a defect in additional, what they call it, earbum, or whatever it is. These are the things. If there is a defect which will not decrease the value of the product, then it's okay. Like I told you, the box, or it could be the wrapping bag, or mm, it could be anything else. That's why sometimes even a little bit of scratches in a little bit, which is actually not obvious. uh, you can actually use some liquid or something to clean it away. Sometimes you receive the product like dirty, for example. All the things all broke. I mean, there are so many dirt inside, which means that if you clean it, it looks new. Sometimes even let's say the seller send you the wrong color of the product, right? Sometimes maybe the seller send you there is a there is a there is a small stink or something in the thing, which means that if you wash away, it will go away. For example, you bought a tudong and then there is a stink on it, which means that if you wash it, it may go away. So these are the things what I call the defect that actually will not decrease the value of the object. You got what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, there will be many other example as well if you keep on thinking. That's why you don't have to. We know that sometimes it comes to us that, oh, I didn't, um, the the product that I got has a little bit problem, but my friend got it perfect. So in business transaction, it happens. Your friend got a very beautiful box inside and everything, and you got a very dirty box and inside. But the thing is, inside is the same thing. Um, so so what we need to do now? So we have to think about the product, whether the value decrease or not. So that will save some time, not to go and fight against the seller. You don't have to spend, because you see, the more you want to return, the more you delay, right? So you are not going to use that particular product. So that's why the defect must be something that decreasing the value of the object. If it is not decreasing, then it is not defect. Okay, this is
Sir,
number. Yeah, go ahead.
how about defect? For example, we buy some stores. They give time to the customers to return within 3 days if the for example we bought the sales girl
Mm.
may give a different size. So
Mm,
the
mm.
defect is not decreasing the value, right?
No, here the size is actually decreasing the use. The value is the same, but the size is actually is that's what we will be talking about. The next one is called determination, of course, the option of determination. Here, in the option of determination, you might see that you may have given the choice to choose, and then you have to choose from, you have given three colors and you have to choose one color, but you will not be given three sizes. How are you supposed to fit in M and L and also XL? You will have to use you, because according to your size you have to choose according to M or S. So why you are supposed to use XL and double XL, isn't it? So that one is more important than the color. So you have to always look in different way, because size and color is not the same. Size means even though it's the same price, the size and color is the same price, because you won't get different price. Let's say I want to buy this color of the jacket. Let's say you want to buy this size of the jacket. It's not going to be giving you a different size, sorry, different price. It's the same price. But will you agree with me, Aina, that size doesn't matter? Size really matters, right? Size is very important to you, because otherwise how am I supposed to use it? I cannot use the big size, or let's say people like me, big people like me cannot use a small size, isn't it? So that's why the purpose is actually missing. When the purpose is missing, then here we need to go back to the pillar number 3. So when there is a problem of size, you have to go back to pillar number 3. What is pillar number 3? Object, subject matter, which is the product. So the product should be determined. The product must be well defined. Okay. So the size is not about it. The size, if there is a wrong size, definitely you have to return. And of course, if she has given you the wrong size, then you should, it's not like, you have to, it's not like about, it's not the 3 days. The 3 days is not about 3 days or 7 days. It's not the case, because first of all, she has given you the wrong size, the size that you didn't ask for it. You asked for M and she has given you XL. So now the transaction itself invalid. you know um, she gave you 3 days or 7 days for those who has problem with the product. Problem means what? Let's say you open the jacket and then there was the stitching is out. You open the jacket and then you saw that there's somewhere is actually tight or something, isn't it? So meaning to say, if there is any other defect other than the size, then only you have the option to practice, so that you can bring it back within 3 days or 7 days. But if she has given you the wrong size, because you ask for M and then she has given you XL, which means the transaction itself is invalid. It's not about the practicing of option. The option, the transaction itself is invalid until you go back and you change, or she come back and change to you. Okay, that's the thing. You got it now?
Yeah, so it doesn't fall under option of defect because sometimes uh at, at one time I bought a shoes, then I have different pairs. I mean, one pair is the right size and the other one is not the right because the sales girl maybe put the accidentally,
Mm.
and we thought that I thought that she give the right size. So when I
Mm,
return home,
mm,
I when I want to use the shoes,
mm,
uh, I found that the size is different.
mm, mm,
So
mm.
so does my question is, does it fall under option of defect as
Okay.
we return the
Mm,
shoes to get the new one, the actual
okay.
size?
Okay, that's a very good example, Laina, that you said. You know, one pair of the shoe, one is good, the other one is a different size. So that's why let me take back to you. It won't come under the option of defect. It will come under mistake. Okay, now you understand. Last time we talked about fictional contract. You remember we talked about artificial contract, and we talked about the mistake. You remember, if you go back to a few classes, we talk about the mistake in asl, the mistake in wasaf, right? So now, like I told you, this is the issue with pillar number three. Because you ask for something, but you are getting something else. You are not getting exactly the same thing, and then there is a defect in it. No, you are getting the different thing because you ask for size number 7, but you are getting one is size number 7, the other one is size number 9, which means that it's totally the wrong subject matter. So so it has to be treated larger than the option of defect. Now I think you understand my point. It comes under mistake. It doesn't comes under the option of defect. Option of defect will come. You bought the shoe. Let's both of them look seven size. Of course, the light and the right and left. You receive the shoe, but when you wear the shoe, then you saw there is a hole inside. Or when you start wearing and walking, then the bottom part comes out. This is called option of defect. This option of defect, you can return back and get the new one, or you return back, get the money. Okay, now you got it, Aina?
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, you're welcome. Okay.
Sir,
Yes, go ahead.
so meaning that the option of defect is like warranty?
Exactly, the warranty. That's what I said. There are so many words that we have, like a warranty, guarantee. That's very good. That's good. We have using trial, we have return policy. Everything comes together with this. According to Sharia, this is what has been practiced from the beginning of the time. This is what al-Khiyar is actually an option that every people in the market, when they go to souk, they used to practice it. But now, of course, like you said, the modern development is actually what you call guarantee, warranty, what you call a return policy, a refund policy, and everything comes together with this. All right, that's why I want you to understand the original text, which is a fiqh, and then I want you to apply into the modern transactions. That's the reason why now you are asking me the questions, which is very good because you are actually applying into the modern transactions. You got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, okay, welcome. So now let's go to number 4. The fourth one is that the option of determination. Here, you see, here is actually you agree with the product, but you are not so sure about the color, which color you want to use it. Or maybe you agree to the product or you are buying for your siblings, you don't know about the size. It happens. I know you know about your size, but you are not sure about your sibling size because the siblings is not there. So you are buying a pair of shoes for your siblings, or let's say myself, for the daughter, for the son, I'm buying. Then I told the shop, the shop owner, I say that, okay, I really like this type of the shoe. I really like this model. I really like this, the fancy shoe, but I don't know the size. So let me pay the money and then let me do the transaction. So now give me like two or three pair of the shoes. That, let's say if you know the shop owner, he will be happy to give you more than one or two or three pair, and then we ask you, okay, take it and then try with your children, uh, especially now the during the COVID-19 period, because children cannot come out from home, right? So if you know the shop owner, then if he gives you the options to take all three and then go, and then you choose one, right? Or you buy three colors and then you choose, but you pay only for one, but you can given the determination, the option. This is called. So now the most important thing here is this option of determination is slightly different from other options. Do you know what is the biggest difference? The biggest difference is you cannot cancel the contract. In other options, if there is a defect happening, if there's a defect, definitely you can cancel the contract. But in here, in the determination, you actually has to bought at least one, because you already made the transaction, and the shop owner gives you the option. Let me give you other example. When you are about to go for wedding, when you are want to choose your wedding dress. So now, I think, about, the bride, how much, they spend for the wedding dress, so that they don't want to spend for the wrong one. So they always ask for the options. So this is what we call options of determination. This is one of the perfect example. So the wedding specialist, or whatsoever the name, will come to your home with at least three or four designs of, new designs of the wedding dress, and then she want you to try, and then you try, and then you see which one suits you. You take some picture and you ask your beloved, parents and siblings, and how does it look and all. So now the condition, the important difference, like I told you earlier, you cannot cancel the contract. You have to, because you already started initiating the transaction, but you are only not sure about which one to buy. All right, sometime it might happen. It is also very good example. I can give you another one, which is actually the variance of the car. Let's say I want to buy a Proton X50. I really like it. Of course, everybody started booking, and I'm also started booking it. And I want to buy X50, but I'm not pretty sure which variant should I buy. Should I go for the low spec, or the medium spec, or the high spec? All right. So now I can choose in between, whatever that, according to my need and according to my expectation. But I have to buy the car. I cannot cancel buying the car. I have to buy whether the low spec, mid spec, or high spec. But at the end of the day, I have to buy the car. But still, I have the option of determination to choose. The same thing goes to, let's say, you are using, whether it is, let's say the applications, the app. There are some app, they have different variation, like, the HD, SD, HD, full HD, ultra HD, these are the things. So you can buy, and then later you can upgrade into between one to another one. Sometimes when you upgrade, you have to only pay. I mean, when you upgrade, you have to only pay that extra money that you are supposed to pay. But the thing is, you have to buy that product first, and then you have the options of determination. So this is all actually comes under determination. You may also come up with um, some other examples as well. The option of determination refers to the right of the purchaser to select from among three things the item which he would buy. The option of determination is applicable to contracts where the parties agree to conclude the contract, but the buyer has not decided on the choice of the object during the session of the contract. The option is only recognized. Okay, here again there is a problem. among the fuqaha, according to Hanafi and Maliki, they actually recognize it. All right, because they say it is a completely reasonable, because this kind of option should be given. But according to Imam Shafi'i and Hanbali, they do not recognize this option of determination because they go back to the pillars of the contract. According to Imam Shafi and Hanbali, they think that according to the pillar, you cannot buy something if you cannot determine, because the determination was one of the condition. Determination was one of the conditions of subject and object matter. Last time we discussed about it. They stick with that condition. They said that the object of the contract is not sufficiently determined, then the contract does not conform to the basic conditions laid down for the subject matter. All right. Okay, you want to know what are the conditions for these options of determination. The first condition is the option could only be exercised with regard to three objects. Okay, they minimize the number because you cannot have more. You have to minimize the number within these three. The object should be different qualities and prices. Of course, it is not actually the same. We are not talking about the same. Um, like I told you, the variant must be different. Okay, I want to buy the low spec, mid spec, and high spec. So of course, I want to buy 12 GB or six. I want to buy 16 GB or 32 GB or 64 GB iPhone. These are the things that different qualities and different prices. All right. If they are the same quality and prices, then the option has no meaning. The price of all three items should be known. That the period in which the option is exercised should be ascertained. The time must be there. Within this time, you need to decide. This is the most important point that I wanted to make: the effect of the option of determination. Remember this. This option will not give you the option to cancel the contract. The option of determination does not entitle the parties to a cancellation of the contract. You cannot cancel. You are not supposed to cancel because you are already in the contract. It is only that you need to choose which one. So you cannot cancel the contract. When the buyer only puts the option of the determination, the contract is binding on him. So this contract will become binding on him. He can only select from amongst the three different items. All right. Okay. This is the last one for today. The last one is what? The option of sight and inspection. Let's say you are not here, you are somewhere and you heard about the property and then you talk over the phone. You say that I'm interested in your house, I'm interested in your property or the land, but the condition is I have to come and inspect it because I'm in abroad. So it might happen. Sometimes you are abroad and you want to buy. So you just say that, okay, I confirm my transaction, but the condition is I have to come and check your house before I pay the full money. I come and check your land before, or I need to send someone to your house, some of my people to inspect, or maybe I need to send some experts to see the product. So it refers to the rights of the buyer who has not seen the object and to confirm or cancel the contract after inspection. The reason for this option is that the buyer has not seen the object. However, if he has been seen the object, the right could not be established to him, which means that um, if you have already seen the object, which means that you are not entitled to practice this option, that that I mean that will include, the people who do the e-commerce, the one we do today, whatever that we do in Lazada or Shopee or Amazon. We actually see the product. We clearly see the product. So this option cannot be for those people who actually, whether you see virtually, whether you see physically, still you see, right? Like for example, we have virtual classes now. doesn't mean that I'm not here and you are not here, right? We're both here, but we meet online, not face to face. The Hanafi, the Maliki, the Hanbali argue for this right. Most of the majority scholars, they said this right is this option is correct, while the Shafi'i alone, they said it's not in their favor. They said a contract in which the object is not present, it is not valid, as it involves gharar. As I told you earlier for the last time, the same thing goes according to Imam Shafi'i. He go back to pillar number three. According to the pillar number three, if you go back to the conditions of the pillar number three, it says that the product must be present. If it is not presented, if it is not deliverable, then you cannot do the transaction. So according to Imam Shafi'i, he go back to that. But most of the majority scholars, they said this contract can be done. All right. I think that's all from me.